After a less than stellar opening weekend that saw Shazam! Fury of the Gods make less in its first weekend than Morbius, it's now time to talk about the second weekend. Take a guess at how good it's going to be. Take a guess. The second weekend outlook, optimistically, on the high end, we're seeing 15 million. On the low end, we're seeing 12. So where's the film going to land? Well, if it's somewhere in there, it's going as expected. But as expected is once again a far cry from what you ultimately want. Like, let's say, for some reason, this film in its second weekend makes the high end. Let's say it makes 15 million. It's still only following 15 million on its second weekend after a abysmal $30 million opening weekend, which is 20 some odd million less than the first film's first opening weekend. So it's just straight downhill. Even if it does its best, it's still not good. So that's what we're looking at here. There's even a couple people that believe that the film could suffer a bigger drop. Again, we don't know. We'll talk about it when the weekend numbers are all in. But according to tracking, and depending on where you look and what analysts put out their predictions, and just by looking at social media impressions and the push, this thing is going to be out of theaters pretty quickly and on the smallest screen. It's already gotten the boot out of many of the big screens. They're not looking to hold it there because other films are performing better. There's also not a lot of demand and pre-sale tickets going into this weekend, which I think WB and DC obviously saw by pushing up that digital release date in a record-breaking like 32 days. So Shazam, I think this second weekend either has to hold 15 million if there's any hopes of seeing more Shazam, and if it does less than 15, this thing is dead. It's a dead franchise. It's absolutely going to be abysmal, and the outlook then on its total United States haul, which before the film came out was predicted to be 140 and 150 million, it might not make that in its worldwide run. That honestly might be, in the long run, one of the biggest box office modern day comic book bombs of all time. I mean, this thing is gonna sit there as an example of what not to do, along with Morbius and that recent Men in Black movie. Nah, you forgot that existed, but I didn't. I saw that. It was garbage. It was probably the worst theatrical experience I've had since Independence Day 2. The only film I actually walked out of. They made an Independence Day 2.